everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. The polar vortex is in town for 3 days and I don't feel much like going outside. So we're going to do something fun that we don't do all that often anymore. I got my model making stuff out. We're going to make us a model car. This one here is one that I've been looking for a long time. And we finally found one at the auction. I got it for 12 bucks. It's an open box, but it has never been made or started or anything. Everything is pretty much as it was. This car, this thing was awesome back in the day. Robert Yates, he could build horsepower, man, and this thing just looked wicked. And the guys that drove this car, unbelievable. Davey Allison, Ricky Rudd, Ernie Irvin. Tough guys. Just unbelievable. This car is a legend. And the guys that drove it were legends too. So, we're going to put this thing together. These are nice kits. I can remember building a few of these when I was a kid. It was pretty exciting when these first came out, because up until that point, all we really had was the old MPC ones, the old 70s MPC NASCAR kits. And there were some AMT ones kicking about. The Petty Grand Prix was a really nice kit. But for the most part, these were great when they came out. So let's have a look at it here. Hopefully, these old decals will be usable. We'll find out when we start putting them on, I guess. The windows are in here. The one has a bit of a scuff on it because they were just kicking around loose in the box. We'll get them wrapped up so that they're safe. Here's the body, and I've already checked it for twist. It's not twisted, thank goodness. There's all the parts. And here's your chrome sprue. Somebody has been at the wheels and put the wheels together. That's about all that's been done to this. And that's not too bad. There's a couple of parts loose in there. Even if there's one or two little things missing, I actually have a couple of these kits in the scrap box in the basement. So we could grab a part or two if we need them. We'll throw a few of these pieces in the muriatic acid because there's not really a lot of chrome parts on a stock car, is there? Some of them will leave chrome, like the radiator, because that would have been aluminum. And we'll use that as kind of our base. And with dull coat and a wash, we'll get that fixed up. But other things are going to go in the muriatic acid. This car was all black. There was no bare aluminum. No chrome. There was nothing on this car. It was just all black, all business. I got the wheels and the rear spoiler soaking in the muriatic acid. That'll take the chrome off. And while that's doing its thing, pardon me, the first thing I want to do is get going on the body. I'd like to get this prepped, painted, so it can sit and cure while we mess with the other stuff. Not much to it, really. Just pick these parts off the sprue. Then we're going to give them a nice bath with a little warm water and dish soap. And then just a very light scuff, and we'll see where we go from there. Once all the flash is cleaned up, I have to sit it here on end so the nose doesn't fall off. But I just want to make sure that the nose and the hood fit the body properly, and that all looks good. Now we'll just test fit the rear bumper, and then it can go in for a bath. It fits nicely too. We'll let those things sit and dry for a spell, then we'll start looking at some of the other stuff. Next up, we've got a whole slew of parts that need to be painted red. The whole chassis in this car, you can see here, is basically like a bright red. So we're going to get as many of these parts cleaned up and shoot them all red, all in one shot. That's the easiest way to do it. So we got to go around and clean all the little flash and residue and stuff off of these. So we'll use a hobby knife with a nice sharp number 11 blade and a good old-fashioned emery file, and we'll go and we'll get all these parts cleaned up. Well, here we go. This is all of our red parts. I've taped up a couple of things that I don't want to paint red, but for the most part, it can all just get painted red. Got the old Plasti coat. This is an oldie, this one. I don't know if it even works. We'll test it out first and then go for it. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. It'll take a couple of coats to get this stuff all covered up, but I know this isn't the pro way to do it, but it's my way. We'll let that flash up a bit, then we'll hit it again. Well, let's see how this goes. We got some Duplicolor acrylic enamel here. This is pretty nice paint. I use it on real cars. Should work on these. There, I'll give it a little test, make sure it's good, and let's go. Yep, looks pretty good on the nose. Oh yeah, you can lay on a pretty nice coat of paint with rattle cans if you got good rattle cans. It's not as good as doing it with an airbrush, don't get me wrong, but for something that's going to sit on my shelf, I'd say okay. All right, we'll let that sit for a bit and see how it looks when we come back. We'll be using this. Some of these are pretty darn old. Some of them are maybe from the 90s, and some of them are even older than that. But they still work. And even I've had a couple that are kind of dried up, and I just put a little acetone in them and stir them up, and they're good like new again. So we're going to have at it and see what we can do here. The paint on the body turned out really well. I'm going to go ahead now and start applying some of the decals. This one is nice because unlike most stock cars, this one is all one color. You don't have to mask and tape a secondary color. That's great. We'll start with a tricky one first. This is the one for the hood, but it extends right up onto the cowl. So we have to apply this decal with the hood in place. And then once it's on, we cut it where the hood meets the cowl. So I'll just drop it in some lukewarm water here and let it soak for a minute. They'll usually start to uncurl a bit when they're ready to come out of the water. That's a big decal. In the meantime, all the red chassis parts are downstairs. I'm still in the midst of painting them. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna put a little water on the hood. That'll help the decal slide around. And we just slide it off onto the car. And then we line that up there with the air box. Now, just kind of use this towel as like a squeegee. This is a big decal. Gotta get it positioned perfectly. And work all the air out of it. Well, I only screwed that up a little bit. It'll look okay when it's done. Now, we're going to put a little decal set on this, which will help this decal conform perfectly to the body of the car. This step is critical. There we are. We've got all the decals on it. I have to let them set overnight. And tomorrow morning we'll give it a little bit of a wash. We've got to trim a few edges here and there. And then we'll whack it with a few coats of clear. Working away at some of the sub-assemblies. We've got the engine and transmission put together. I do have to put the headers on it still. I got the exhaust here, and a little thing you can do is I drilled out the ends of the pipes. Makes them look a little more real. And the tires, I just put them on a bolt with a couple of washers, put them in my drill press, and run a Scotch-Brite pad against them, and it scuffs them up and gives them that kind of used look. And then I just do the Goodyear lettering. I dry brush it. I used to in younger times have better eyes and a much steadier hand, and I could actually paint them, but now that's the best I can hope for. It's still not too bad. Our wheels came out of the acid with a beautiful finish, and if you can see there, it left the chrome down in the bottom of the D-holes, which is fine because when it's on the car, it gives you the impression that you're looking at the brakes through the holes in the wheels. You can also, if your wheels are not chrome, you can paint the bottom of those holes silver to get the same effect. Now, if I was younger and I had better eyes, I would reach in there and paint the lug nuts yellow, because most teams painted them yellow. I think it might have even been a rule. So the tech inspector, the pit road tech guy, could see that all 5 were hit. Anyway, I'm not going to do that. That'd turn into a disaster if I tried to do that. Well, I think I'm actually at the point here where I can start following the instructions. So I'm going to do that. Number 1, we're going to be putting the dash and the front firewall together, then assembling that to the chassis. Now I'm going to start putting the chassis together. I've gone around and scraped off all the paint where the cement needs to go so it will stick, and we'll just slowly start building this up, following the instructions, of course. Well, there's the first steps. It's looking pretty good. We'll let this all set up and get dry, and then we'll carry on. I've got the roll cage mostly put together, and you can see here we've got a few clamps and stuff on it just to try and hold it while the cement sets up. I'm I'm using the old non-toxic stuff. It's all right, but it takes a lot longer to work than the good stuff in the red tube. Oh, sorry. The light's a little funny in here. Now we gave the body its first shot of clear. I'm just using an old can of Tester's gloss coat. I used to use this stuff a lot. This can is pretty old. It's probably 15 or 20 years old, but it still works. So I got one coat on there. We'll let that set up, and then I'll give it a second coat, and that should do it. A couple of the larger decals. You can see this one on the hood. The front edge of it here has got a little crinkly going on. I probably should have, to put this thing together, I probably should have sprung for a new set of decals for it. But, you know, I figured I'd give it a try. It is what it is. This kit is probably 30 years old, as well as the decals. So, and my decal set that I was using on them is probably also 30 years old. Anyway, like I said, it is what it is. There's a few wrinkles around the edge of the roof number too, but I don't care. It'll still look good sitting on the shelf. Moving right along here, we're always finding interesting ways of holding things while the cement sets, but it works. Well, that's it for now for the top side. The instructions want us to turn it over and start doing some stuff underneath. The rear axle is in. Now we wait for the cement to set. Engine is in. I got the front suspension together. It was a little bit of a chore, but we got it. Something is a little bit off or bent or warped or something because she's towed out a little bit. But hey, one thing I know from racing on short tracks myself was we run them towed out anyhow. So I guess this is a Martinsville car because she's towed out a lot. We got the cooling system and the front hoop installed. It was a little bit twisted, but we've got it clamped up while we wait for the cement to set. I've also been doing the black outline on the glass. I just use a Sharpie for it. A couple of coats with that, and it comes out pretty good. Well, there we are. The roller is finished. We're just waiting on a few little paint touch-ups and stuff to dry. And then we'll put the body on, put the windows in, and I think that'll just about do it. Here's the first test fit of the body onto the chassis, and it went pretty well. So we can take it back off and get some cement in there and get it attached permanently. Now I can put the windows in. And to do that, I've always anyway used carpenter's glue because it dries clear and it won't craze the glass. If you get some on it, you just wipe it off with a damp rag. It's not so bad on these NASCAR models where the windows actually go in from the outside. It can be problematic on some of the older kits where the windows are in from the inside because it doesn't really cement the plastic, it just kind of glues it. And if the window falls out somewhere down the line, you have to take the body off to fix it. But anyway, so we'll just go around there like that, and then we'll drop the window in. That turned out pretty good, eh? I've been looking for one of these for ages. Very happy with it. Oh, what's that say over there? You know it. Yeah, that's going to look great sitting on my shelf. So happy with it. Well, that'll wrap it up for that one, I guess. Thanks for coming along with this and letting me bore you to tears putting plastic models together. But it's something I like to do once in a while. It's something I used to be very, very passionate about in my younger years. Now that I'm old, my eyes and my wobbly old fingers, it's not quite as easy as it used to be. But it still feels good when you put one together and it turns out like that. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning into our channel. Hope you'll come back and see us again. And until then, this is Kevin saying so long from the Claremont Classic Garage.